Hey, so welcome to OSR Garage. Normally, this is the time that OSR Garage and Fiskerati are on here talking about the Fisker Ocean. But Sean is on vacation with his family, so he's going to be doing that, and I'm going to go over a little bit over on the Fisker Ocean, and then we'll go over some other EVs. Anything that anybody wants to talk about, we'll talk about. Just wait a little bit, see if there's any more people going to show up, and then we'll get started. If you are new to this channel or you're just popping in to see what's going on, of course, my name is Jim from OSR Garage. I do automotive content and reviews, and I have a reserve for a Fisker Ocean, and I also have a reservation for a Ford Lightning. So Ford Lightning should be opening up their ordering here within the next week or two. I think it was supposed to happen on Monday, but it hasn't happened yet. So on hopefully next week or the following week, we will get a chance to get that ordered. As for the Fisker Ocean, we're going to see a lot of people that have been passing on ordering their Ocean One because they have still not filled all of the 5,000 orders yet, which is really odd. So, because we are now at somewhere around the 45,000 range that they've sent emails out. So I'm not sure what's going on out there. Yeah, Gary, there is a lot of false information about EVs out there. It drives me crazy too. Especially the worst thing about it is when it's EV fans of a certain brand bashing on other EVs, and that really irritates me. I understand the gas people. There are gas guys that are just loyal to their gas engines, and just I understand that. And they, like we have talked before, they're always going to find an excuse why the EV is not going to work for them. And I don't. It's not going to work for everybody in every situation. But when people are just giving out bad information, like you're going to run out on the side of the road, what's going to happen if you're stuck in traffic and everything. And the thing is most of those situations, an EV is better to have than a gas engine. So, I don't know what else you guys have heard. If there's anything, some things that you've heard people say, let me know. Um, there's the biggest thing is right now with the trucks and the EVs is that, well, what about the towing? What about the towing? They can't tow. You're going to lose half your range if you tow. And the funny thing is the people that are making those comments, if you ask them, how often do you tow? They probably tow a few times a year. And a few times a year, you're going to worry about not getting something because a couple times a year, it's going to hinder your towing. And unless you are towing from state to state to state, your range is not going to be an issue. If you're just towing around locally, it's going to be fine. Yeah, I was going to talk about that today. Yeah, I'm here in Central Illinois, also Thomas, and I did get an invite, which was really strange. Was last night, and I was talking to Sean about Fiskerati about this. Last night, I went online and I was just checking my referral count number just to see where I'm at, and it had a little one next to my reservation, and I was like, well, what is that all about? So I clicked on it, and it popped up and said pre-order. And I'm like, okay, well, I never got an email or anything. So I clicked the pre-order, which I'm not going to. We are not going to get the one. That was something that was I never even thought would even happen. We're not prepared for that right now. That's a situation that's not going to happen. So what I did was I selected not now, and it brought me to another screen that said, um, it gave what is your preferred choice, and it had the three trim levels. They're actually the four trim levels. It had the one, the extreme, the ultra, and the sport. And underneath that, it gave production dates underneath that. And which I thought was interesting to find out that it said under the extreme would be Q2 is when the extreme was going to start being built. Now, Q2, that's what, January, February, March. You're looking at April or so before they're even talking about producing those. But I thought they were supposed to be built right alongside the one, which I think that they would have started building them in January. But it's got them pushed back farther. So that was a little surprise to me. Do you think Illinois residents aren't getting invites due to the lawsuit against Tesla, Rivian, etc.? Actually, I have not heard anything about that lawsuit because I believe the only reason Tesla was even able to sell in Illinois was because they got approval to do it. So I'll have to look into that because I haven't seen that. I don't think it's that they haven't. I don't think that's the case because there are two people in Chicago that have been on here before that both got invites and both ordered the one. So I don't think it's that Illinois is not getting invites because then I got an invite today. So I think it's just number wise and where you're at in the list and things like that. So a Tesla semi, Gary. A Tesla semi. We haven't even seen the Tesla Cybertruck yet. I mean, how long's that been? Like 4 or 5 years they've been talking about this, and we still haven't seen the Cybertruck, other than the one that they show driving around. I mean, I don't believe the semi. Actually, it wouldn't surprise me if the semi shows up before the Cybertruck does. Um, Yeah, so that was one thing I was going to talk about was the pre-order invite. The other thing I was going to talk about was the next comparison video that's going to be coming up is going to be the Fisker Ocean and the Mustang Mach E. Now, most of those videos, if you've watched them, they really haven't been lining up so much with the trim levels and power numbers and price points. The Mustang is going to probably line up pretty well because I know for a fact that their top of the line GT performance is right around $70,000. And of course, we know that the Extreme is going to be right at $69,000. So those numbers, price point and power numbers and everything like that, are going to line up really well together. It's going to be really interesting to see how that one turns out. I think that one might be the most fun for me because my brother has a Mustang Mach-E GT Performance, and we're expecting to get the Extreme, and it's going to be a fun weekend one time next summer maybe. Yeah, torn on the one or the Extreme or the Ultra. Price and solar roof are my sticking points. Yeah, the solar roof, depending on where you live, whether it's going to be beneficial or not. They say anywhere from 1,500 to 2,000 miles per year you'll gain off that solar. And I think somebody misunderstood what I was saying about last week. I think it was that they had asked about the solar charging the battery constantly, causing an early battery failure or something like that. And I made the comment that it is like a trickle charger. It's like charging at such a low rate that it's not going to hurt the battery kind of at like on a 110 charger, charges at about 3 miles per hour. The solar, and I think they misunderstood and thought that I was saying that it charges at 3 miles per hour, but it doesn't. You're looking at maybe 3 miles a day. You might get out of it. I think it's if you figure it out, I think it's less than 5 miles a day that you'll actually get solar out of that, and that's at maximum. So it's kind of not a gimmick because it does work, but it's just one of those things where do you really need it or not? Is it just one of those flashy things to say, hey, I got a solar roof? It kind of also goes along with the revolve screen. Yeah, it's kind of cool that it turns sideways, but do you really need it? So that's an option or choice you'll have to make there. The only thing that I see happening with the Ultra and the Extreme, and we saw that the power numbers originally were very, very close to each other. And then somebody said that the power numbers and stuff like that have been taken off of the website. What I think might be happening is the Ultra could end up with just a little bit lower performance, and they're going to expect you to want to purchase that extra performance by doing the like a sport performance package. I think like Tesla has done in the past, where it's like if you pay $2,000 or $3,000, and all of a sudden you've got like 40 more horsepower. I don't know for sure, but it may be something that they're doing. The other thing is that these motors, these electric drive motors, are done by Magna, and I bet that even the performance that they're putting out, I bet they can put more out without any issue. So the numbers may be the numbers, and they may actually push the horsepower numbers up on the Extreme. And then if you want to match that, then you pay extra on the Ultra. It's hard to tell right now. It's, until we hit around October or so, when they start to build the ones, then we'll know more about numbers and all the stats and everything. We got questions over here. Our view more on the obstructive view. Cars and the days on it. Yeah, people that park outside constantly, they're gonna see more gain. Like if you parked it there for a weekend or whatever, yeah, you might gain 15 or 20 miles while it's sitting out over the weekend. But basically, it's not going to. I don't think it's going to benefit anybody that has any, shift in weather patterns and stuff like that. The biggest points are going to be like Florida, California, Arizona, places like that where it's generally sunny and warm and everything. All right. Joe. I got Joe. So I invited someone to come in, and I think he's here now. So I will pull him up on screen, and hopefully he is ready. Joe, are you ready? Oh, I don't have any audio from you. Let me see here. Try to find the audio. I do not know why I'm not getting any audio from you. Is anybody else here, Joe, or is it just me that's not hearing Joe? Try again, Joe. See,
Yeah, I could try.
Okay.
Hopping back in.
There, I got you.
Okay. There we go.
There we go. Yeah. How's it going?
Pretty good. How you doing?
Good. So anybody doesn't know, this is Joe from JKEV. He had done a lot of trips and traveling with charging and stuff like that with a Volkswagen ID4. So Joe is, and I understand that you guys are getting a new car or planning to get a new car. Do you guys got any perspectives yet?
Yeah. So I ordered a Blazer that was started. That was yesterday. I think they opened up reservations for those, but that
Oh,
won't be
okay.
here till next end of next summer at the earliest. So I need something to get me through the year. Um, and I'm kind of looking for something more budget friendly. So the Bolt has gotten some substantial discounts that are just hard to pass up since I don't have
Yeah.
too many road trips really planned coming up soon. Um,
Hmm.
but I'm also considering just a standard range Mach. Those are pretty good,
Oh,
pretty
yeah.
well equipped cars at the base price.
Yeah, and they're
Yeah,
around. You can find those. I'm pretty sure.
yeah.
Um,
And I'm here in Illinois with you, so we can't get the Kona.
yeah.
So, and unfortunately, the price of the Nero is so close to an Ionic or a EV6 at
Oh,
that
yeah.
point. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. I didn't know they opened the Blazers today. I know they announced it, but I didn't know you could put out reservations on that now already.
Yeah, it's just a kind of like the Lightning, just a blank reservation. There's you don't have to pick your
Yeah.
trim yet. I think I'm sure later this year or early next year they'll probably try to have people pin down a trim level so they can start allocating how many of each trim they'll make. I know they already announced that the one LT isn't going to be out till like 2024, but the
Oh,
SS,
yeah.
RS, and 2LT looks like they'll be here pretty quickly. So should be a pretty
Yeah.
good.
Yeah. They like to put those top ones out there, that SS, and I think they're talking like somewhere around 65 on that one.
Yeah, 45 for the base and 65. So you can assume that probably 50 for the LT and 50 or 2LT
Right.
and 55 probably for the RS is fair to assume, something like that. But
Yeah.
that's
It looks
unfortunately
like
all the brands are like that. The first editions are always the most
right.
well equipped.
Right, right. It looks like a nice car.
Yeah,
I like how I think they were saying even on the lower trims, the SS they were showing had that black top. And I think they were saying that it's going to be optional for the lower models if on the video that I saw. I don't know if it's true or not, but
yeah, all subject to change. But the one I saw a video too where they walked around a couple different models and it looks like they all had that option checked. So um,
okay.
yeah, hopefully. I mean,
I'm gonna see if I
with anything, more options is always more choices always helps bring more people in.
all right, let me see if I can pull her up here. And that's over here. So is this see this is what I saw.
Yep, that's definitely the color I'll be choosing.
Yeah, it looks really good. The red does it's a darker red. I like that. I think it looks
Yeah,
really nice. Um,
all subject to
did
change too.
you
There's but
right?
yeah,
Yeah, because they haven't released what colors it's going to be, have they?
yeah, they haven't released the colors. Like we said, final pricing's not released. We don't know. Tax credits up in the air, so we don't know how that's going to work. So it's
Right,
going to be hard if there's no credit on this and it's the same price as like a Mach-E,
right.
or I mean at that higher end prices, you're almost at the BMW i4, other cars at that price point.
Mm-hmm. Oh, looks like we. Oh, there he's back. Lost him there for a second. So, we were talking, Joe, about some non-truth. We've been talking about some non-truths that were going around about EVs. What is? Yeah, I don't hear you now. Can you hear me? Yeah, I can't hear you either. I'm not sure what happened. Anyway, well, Joe's kind of working on that. Yeah, I don't know. I'm not. Yeah, not getting any audio. I'm not sure what's going on. Um, yeah, I'm not sure what's going on with his connection here. I can bring him back in. Um, Gary, you were talking about the Ultra having security cameras. I think it's supposed to have all. I think all three trim levels are supposed to have cameras all the way around them. That's from what I understood. Can you hear me now, Joe? Yeah, you can hear you, but I can't hear you. That's weird. I don't know what's going on. I don't know what happened. I think he's going to try to reset and try coming back in. Yeah, the Blazer. Yeah, I saw that the Blazer's going to be starting out around 45 to 48. Um, Thomas says towing is a mental thing for me. It would be pretty infrequent, but we have a teardrop camper we like to take a couple times a year. It's not rational to focus on the range, but unavoidable. Um, yeah, see, we have a camper also, and we tow to a campground that's about maybe 30 miles away. So really, it's not going to affect us at all either. So and that's what I think people worry about. It's more about if you're going to go camping like 2 or 3 states away or something like that, where you're going to have to stop and you're going to have to stop and plug in and charge. And right now, there's not a lot of those places where you can pull your vehicle in straight, like if you were towing something and charge. So we'll have to see how that works out. I believe I just heard that Chevy and EV Go are going to be working together to put in fast charging stations, and I believe they are all going to be 350 kilowatt stations, and they're going to be put at most of the pilot gas stations or truck stops. So there's a good chance that there's going to be several of those that are actually going to be pulled through. All right, Joe's back. I'm going to try to bring him in here, and we'll see what happens here.
Is it working now?
There we go.
All
Yeah,
right.
we can hear you.
Sometimes just turn it off and turn it on again, right?
Yeah, yeah. So one of the guys was talking about the towing with like the Ford Lightning. It seems like everybody's focused on it can't tow, you can't go anywhere to tow, and like a lot of people that make those comments to me don't even have trucks. They don't tow anything. Why are you concerned about the towing? And like I was telling them, I said we have a camper that go to a campground maybe 30 miles away is not going to be an issue. But if you are someone who is going to go camping a few states away, then charging will become an issue because there's not really pull through charging stations. And then I had just heard that Chevy and EV Go were working together and we're going to start putting in 350 kilowatt charging at the pilot truck stops and gas stations.
And Flying J as well.
Flying J. Okay, yes, Flying J. Yeah. So I believe that those they'll probably put in pull through.
Yeah, I would hope so. That seems like a good place for it. I mean, they
Yeah.
have enough pumps; they could probably just put them,
Right.
replace a couple pumps with the chargers.
Right.
I think we're on the same wavelength as far as the trucks go. When there's a million trucks a year that are sold, and we're looking at 100 or 150,000 of them being electric. Well, if the electric doesn't work for everyone right now, but electric works for enough people that
Right.
every one that is made will be sold to someone that can utilize it to its
Right.
best ability. I
Yeah.
saw a video. I'm in the forum for the Lightning, and someone today, a rancher, his tractor battery went dead out in the field and was able to pull the lightning right out there, plug the battery tender up to it, and start his tractor up.
Yep. Yeah, it's gonna be. People worry too much about it, and they just and like they were saying, people will make an excuse of why it won't work for them. They'll come up with any excuse they can just to avoid doing it. And it's like, if you don't want to do it, then don't do it. But you don't have to make up excuses. Just say, I'm not interested, and be done with it. And I try to tell people that I talk to, I'm like, I'm not trying to convince you to go buy an electric car. I just want you to have the information, the correct information about the vehicles instead of having incorrect information.
Right.
Because
that's the methodology behind my road trips is, by no means am I telling anyone you need to go buy an ID4 today. I'm just trying to show that if you're curious on how does the road trip work, you can watch our videos and you should be able to see it's, for the most part, a pretty smooth process.
Yeah. And the biggest thing with me is that I hear is, well, I can stop at a gas station and I can fill my tank up in 3 or 4 minutes and I can be back out on the road. And I'm like, okay, you could, but do you? You fill up your gas, especially if you're traveling. You fill up your gas, you go inside, you go to the bathroom, you probably grab a snack, something like that. Next thing you know, it's 15 or 20 minutes later. Well, in that same amount of time, I've added over 100 miles onto my car, and I can get back in my car and leave the same time you did. And
get
to my next
and
charger.
saving, especially with our 3 years of free charging, really works out.
Exactly.
Thousands of dollars in savings in my case. And
Yeah.
I have chargers at work, so refilling my car is as quick as I can plug the thing in. So there's no gas station trips, and so it's a slight inconvenience on a road trip, but you only do a road trip a couple times a year. You're using it for commuting every single day, and that's where the time savings really comes in, and money savings at that point.
Oh yeah, exactly. Exactly. My wife, she has the car most of the time, and I've even cut down on the gas on my truck because if she doesn't need the car, then I take my truck. I take it to work that day and leave my truck in case she has an emergency or something like that. But then I'm just putting like $20 of gas in my F-150 and driving it 2 or 3 times a week and driving the electric car. And I come home if I need to go do something. I come home, get the electric car, and then go take it. Because there's no reason for me to drive my truck and burn all that gas, especially now.
It's come down a little bit, but
a little bit.
It's bad when you look at it and you're like, ooh, $450, it's on sale.
I know. I saw a quote that I think it was one of my friends on Facebook had put up there, and they said, it's bad when you see the gas is under $5 a gallon and you go top off before you go home.
The meme one of my friends sent me was, she said, I won't tell anyone if I win the lottery, but there'll be hints, and she shows her gas tank full.
Right. So Thomas over here, he mentioned also that one of the other myths is that they catch on fire easy, and because that's all. Whenever one catches on fire, you see it all over social media and all over TV and everything, and it's just like. And I think somebody had said, if you go back to 2012, I think it was like the first year of Tesla or whatever, and you total up all of the EV fires that have happened for 10 years, that it is less than what happens on ICE cars in 1 year.
Right. I've heard that stat too. Even the Bolts, as much as they've had the issue, I think that still is a lower percentage than a nice car.
Right. Yeah. So now, one thing I was going to ask you was, and this is how I feel, is that if somebody comes to me and says, I want to get an EV, I don't know much about EVs, and what would be the best car for me for value wise and everything like that. And for me, I tell people the ID4 because I think it's the best transition from and one to learn on going forward. Now, the only difference would be is if you're looking at charging. If somebody wants, I want whatever charges the easiest. I'm going to tell them to go buy a Tesla because it's going to be a lot easier to do. But as in driving wise and everything, I thought the ID4 was perfect for a transition vehicle.
Yeah, I think there's three levels of EV. If you're someone who's older and is not tech savvy, Tesla's really actually ends up being the easiest, just because
Yeah.
the route planning and all that sort of stuff. If you plan on road tripping and you are tech savvy, I think the ID4 is one of the best values, especially with the free charging stuff. Ioniq 5 can be put in there too. At that point, it's a little more money, but faster charging. And then if you're someone who you have a Prius or something for your road trips or whatever, or a camper or something, and you're just going to be using it as commuting, well, at that point, then the Leaf and the Bolt still are, excellent cars, because the DC charging doesn't really come into play if it's just an around town car at that point.
Right. So, did you have a reservation on either the Lightning or Silverado or anything?
I had one on the Lightning, and when it didn't get fulfilled in this model year, I dropped it, figuring that if I get a hold of one, I'm going to try to just find something that falls in the dealer inventory. And actually, I'm kind of lucky that I ended up backing out of it anyway, because I would have been the dealer I had reserved it at is charging even the reservation holders over MSRP. So I would have been pretty frustrated if I went through the whole process, got to the end, and then they gave me the note to say, "Oh, by the way."
Yeah. I don't know if you had happened to have seen my Lightning videos that I posted or not, but yeah, I had a situation where that very first one dealership that I had mine at, they weren't EV certified, so I wouldn't be able to get it from them anyway. Well, all of a sudden they got EV certified, so then I was like, okay, well, I'm probably the only person that has a reservation for that dealership. I was like, I ought to get mine, pretty quick. And then they stopped talking to me, stopped conversing with me, wouldn't answer my question, then told me that if I wanted to order from them, then I was going to be using one of their allotments, and then I would have to pay extra for that allotment. And I'm like, that's not how that works. so I just went ahead and moved over to the dealer that I normally use. They charge any customer orders are MSRP. Now, if it's on their lot, they will do a market adjustment, but they're realistic with theirs. It's usually between 5 and 10,000, market adjustment. And I was over there over the weekend and driving a Ford Lightning and a Rivian that they have on their lot, and there were people in and out of there test driving cars, signing papers, buying cars. So they're a big dealer there, but they keep their numbers reasonable, so that's why they're doing so well.
Well, once I had found out that the Lightning was not going to be at MSRP, I was thinking, well, I think I'll maybe go with a Rivian. But in that couple, literally perfect storm for timing, that's when Rivian decided to raise prices on future orders. So
yeah, that was crazy.
In the middle. Yeah. So now basically, I think the way you can get a Rivian for the price that original reservation holders got would be you'd have to get the dual motor, which won't be here for a year or more. So
right, that's what I heard too, which seems a little weird. It's like they can have 4 motors, but they can't get just 2.
Yeah.
Seems awkward to me. So what else we were going to talk about? We were talking about Silverado.
I actually have another dealer story.
Yeah, go ahead.
I went and I was looking to go get an Ioniq 5, and there was a dealer around here that told me it would be MSRP. They warned me, sent me some pictures. They said, just so you know, there was a little bit of damage from transit. Of course, they were going to fix it, because, whatever. And actually, technically, they didn't have to tell me there was damage. They could have fixed it and, sold it as a new car anyway. Well, then I get there, and after test driving the vehicle, they say, yep, it's MSRP, but just so you know, we have to sell it as a used car because of the damage. Well, that's not true.
No.
That just means they titled it to themselves to collect the tax credit.
Exactly.
And then they're reselling it at MSRP as a used car.
Yep. Yeah, and see, that's what we got our ID for as a demo. And I contacted him and asked him like 3 or 4 times, have you guys registered this? Because it was a manager had, I don't know if it was a manager or something, but he had, I don't know if it was a manager or something, but he had, told me used it as a demo and drove it for a month or put 2,100 miles on it. And I'm like, did you guys register it? And they're like, no, we did not register it or anything. And this was up in Wisconsin. So we drove all the way to Wisconsin to get our ID. But we got it. It was a demo, and we got it for like 1,400 under MSRP. Where here in, of course, where Champaign is, I would assume. We went up there and we test drove a first edition, and it had like 8,000 or 9,000 miles on it, and they were wanting 5,000 or 6,000 over MSRP, and you had to do their dealer markup, which was paint protection and security thing, and it was non-negotiable. If you don't do that, then you can't buy the car from them. And I'm like, this is ridiculous.
Yeah, there's a couple
Never
dealers I've
mind.
contacted that have the mandatory paint protection, and there's cars that are in transit. I said, well, can I get one of these? Because they're not on your lot yet. You haven't protected them yet. They're like, well, it's still mandatory. We have to put the paint protection on. I'm like, well,
Yeah, it's so ridiculous. And
yeah,
the bad thing about it is you don't know if they really did it.
yeah, yeah, yeah.
You
How? Yeah,
know,
was it really clay barred and all that sort of stuff? Right? Yeah,
right. And see, I one of our videos we took our ID4 in, and we had the top wrapped black. And then they also did what they called a ceramic wash. They washed the car, they clay barred it, and then they put a ceramic coating on. You could tell it had a ceramic coating on it when you looked at it. Now, we had that done at a dealership on an Explorer that we bought. I couldn't even tell that they had even done anything to it. I even asked them twice because I didn't even find anywhere on their paperwork that it said that they did the outside. So I had asked twice, and they said, no, we did the outside. And I was like, I can't tell that you did. It looks like you might have waxed it, but I don't see any. It doesn't look like ceramic to me. So I don't
yep.
trust that they ever would do that. And I'd rather just take it to a shop because, most of the time you're going to know, you're going to be able to tell that they did it.
Well, in my opinion, the dealers that didn't gouge people are the dealers that'll win at the end because that's where the loyalty will show up the next time there's a car purchase.
Right. Right. Trying to look through some of these questions. Can you see the questions on your side?
Yep.
Okay. I wasn't sure if you could or not. Chevy Bolt EV 26.5. I heard that they had like a $6,000 decrease in price a few months back.
Yeah, so the 22s are their MSRP is like 31 to 33 as the base price. And so they're just putting like $6,000 cash on the hood. But the 23 model year will have the new adjusted MSRP.
Yeah, that's pretty cool. And I don't like the Bolt, but the EUV I think is pretty decent. It looks a lot nicer.
It looks like a baby Trailblazer.
Right. It does. So what else we got here? Anybody else? Oh, somebody was talking about they said they dropped their Lightning reservation when the XLT. If you wanted that extended battery, it's like $10,000 for the extended battery. But by the way, you have to get the $10,000 tech package that goes along with it. So it's actually 20. So now, right. And I think I don't know if you watched Larry Lynch. He was talking about that. And he was just like, now you're at Lariat price for like $5,000 more. You can get an extended battery on a Lariat, and it was like, my gosh, that's crazy.
But they're still letting the pros. What is it? You can order a Pro extended if you're a fleet customer.
Right. And I was kind of wondering about how that fleet was going to work. But I actually found out that you have to purchase at least 5 of them to be considered fleet and get that extra.
I looked up that too because I have my family has a family business. I'm like, is there a way?
Oh yeah, right. And that's what I was like. I was like, well, I'm going to turn OSR Garage into an LLC. Now can I order the extended battery? No, that's not how it works. But what I was hoping, and I waiting for them to open up things for the 23s to see what is available. that maybe we'll get lucky and they'll just drop that little battery and they'll increase the price a little, and you just get the extended battery and just be done with it.
I
I
think
don't.
the Mach E's kind of the same way, right? Don't you have to get a premium in order to get extended range? I think.
I think so. Yes,
Yeah.
premium above. Yeah, I believe so. So, I'm hoping that they come out with some new colors for the Lightning because I was looking at the carbonized gray, but then that's the one I test drove and I put a video up on that. And I was looking at it and I'm getting the base model. I'm going to order a Pro with the small battery, but I'm going to add the Pro, the towing and all
So
that stuff. So I get the scales, all that stuff for testing and stuff like that. Not that I necessarily need all that, but then I was looking at it with that carbonized gray and then all that black that's going to be grill and bumper and everything. I was like, I don't know if I really want that much. So now I'm looking at the silver one. I'm hoping that they release a couple more colors.
I
I
was looking
just,
at the antimatter blue was the one I was kind of leaning
yeah, that
towards.
was the other one. I did look at red and I pulled up a couple videos of the red and I was just like, it just looks like regular red. I thought maybe it'd be
That's what
like
my
a
test
dark
drive was in.
metallic.
Yeah.
Yeah. So then I also heard that I think it was Autovlog was talking about ordering a Ford Raptor R, and he said that they are bringing back the Avalanche Gray from like 5 or 6 years ago or something like that. Now I don't know where he saw that or if Mitchell Watts from Town and Country. He may have told him that, and maybe he's got some inside information. So maybe there's a possibility we'll get a few other color options.
Well, Ford's pretty. It's pretty common for them to do like a GT model in the best colors, and then the next
Right,
year all those colors trickle down to any trim you want.
right, right. So have you driven? You drove a Lightning, you said?
I did the ride along last year that they were doing when they
Oh,
came through Joliet,
okay. Yeah, I didn't even know about that.
but I haven't driven one yet. I've just been there's a couple dealers that have them around here, and then when I wanted to give them the full disclosure that I want to film it, and then they get a little bit, you know, yeah.
Yeah, and I don't understand. I've done that. I've tried to get a hold of a few dealerships, see if I could do something like that, and I either don't get a reply back from them, or they're like, no, we're not interested. And so this dealership that I'm working with now, it's not like it's been approved through the dealership. So a friend, my salesman basically just said, give me a heads up, and test drive a couple cars for the day and or whatever, and I come back and that was it. I really didn't even plan to drive the Rivian that day that I went. It just happened to be there, and they had two of them.
I've
And I
not
was
driven
like,
those yet. That's I need to do that.
those things are insane. Those things are crazy fast. It's just ridiculous and unnecessary. So
My Tesla connection sounds to be the same as your Ford connection of don't film the dealership, take the car a couple blocks away, then start
yeah,
your video.
yeah, and I didn't tell him that I was going to do that, but I'm sure he kind of assumed that I was going to. But I originally just wanted to go drive the Lightning. I was like, I'm going to be ordering one from you guys. I want to when you get your demo in, I want to drive it. So that's kind of how that actually happened. And then I just got there and look down at their dealership, and I'm like, well, there's a Rivian. Why is there a Rivian sitting here? And then they've got Broncos. They got a 2-door Bronco. I think they've got a Maverick sitting there.
Those
So
are really good little trucks.
yeah, and I haven't even seen one of those up in person yet. So I'm hoping to get a chance to go drive that one also. Um, so so you guys are looking at possibly a Mach E or what
Yeah,
was the other
something
option?
budget friendly. So Mach
Yeah,
E, if the honestly the base SE Ionic, the short range would actually work pretty well for us. Um, both bolts, um, we're pretty flexible. Honestly, it's just to be more of a commuter around town type of car that probably won't go out of town much more than a couple charging stops. So the
Yeah.
DC charging curve isn't as important as like the next car will be.
Right. Right. Yeah, I'm usually up in your neck of the woods. I've got family that lives in Glen Ellen,
Okay,
and
yeah, I'm in Arlington Heights, so yeah, just a little bit
yeah,
north.
yeah. So I think I had seen it on a couple of your videos, stopping at maybe Woolridge Target, and I stop at the Hodgkins one
Oh yeah,
um,
yeah,
on occasion too. I've used the both of those. My dad lives. Is it Westmont? Is that right, or West
yeah,
something
yeah.
like that?
There's
Yeah. So my dad
yeah,
lives
it's
right there.
Downers
So
Downers Grove area. Yeah.
yeah, yeah. Um, so let me see what we got. What about the ID4 software update for my 21 owners? For model year 21 owners, any news? And my car is due for the 10,000 maintenance service in 700 miles. Hopefully by then, dealer can update. Prayers are welcome. Yeah. So we're all waiting waiting for
I
that
have a
update.
little bit of insight on that one.
See if
I
yours
mean, it's all
matches up with
hearsay at
mine.
this point, but obviously the cars that are being delivered now are finally getting the update in the port. But
Right.
I've heard that our updates won't be coming for another month or two. They're looking and targeting in the fall for model year 21 update. So I'm not sure why that is. I'm sure they're probably trying to test out the cars that get sold and see if issues pop up with them. But no plug-in charge yet either, I don't think, on the ones
Yeah.
that are being delivered.
Yeah. Yeah. It's kind of about what I had heard. Also, I heard that originally they tried the 2.4 over in Europe, and they had it. It crashed a couple cars. Not like crashed, like physically crashed it, but it crashed the software. They
Yeah.
had to reload everything back in. So then they had to work on some things, and then they finally got it lined out. And in Europe now, they have already started contacting them and going in and having that done. I watch a guy named Battery Life is his channel. He's from Germany, and he's pretty good about updating stuff, but he doesn't really pay too much attention to the U.S. I think somebody on there asked him one time, and he's like, I don't know. I would assume that you have everything you need. You're too far away from Germany, so you should get everything over the air, And he's like, so. But I did send a message on Twitter to Volkswagen rep there, and of course, they didn't know anything or what they were even talking about. And I told them, I said, YouTube knows more about it than you do, and you work for Volkswagen. So then they're like, well, look, give me till tomorrow, and I'll look it up. Well, they came back, and whatever spiel they said, something about something in the vapor in the exhaust and stuff, and I'm like, okay, you still don't know what you're talking about. But they did get around to it and said, yeah, we are supposed to have the battery and all that stuff replaced also.
Yeah, that's the same as the Ioniq 5 was having too. I've heard is the software update just takes so long that you need a lithium 12 volt.
Yeah, and I think I don't know if it was they were saying before that they had to replace a module, but I think it's actually just updating the software in that module to be able to get the over-the-air updates. I think is basically what's going on.
Yeah, that sounds right.
Yeah, so hopefully we'll see something before the end of the year. You go on Facebook and you say anything about it, and everybody's just like, yeah, whatever, we're not going to have it for another year or two or whenever.
2 more weeks.
Yeah, 2 more weeks. Yeah, hopefully we get to experience it a little bit before we get our Fisker Ocean. So I was going to ask you, Joe, have you looked at the Fisker Ocean at all? And
I haven't. I've typically shied away from because I was an Aptera reservation holder for a while, and it just kind of shied away when they've just been. Unfortunately, a lot of these brands have the difficulties of getting the production line going. So I've just kind of usually gone elsewhere to just. Also, I've always had a little bit of fear of what's going to be the repair and service sort of interval and where to go, especially when it's a newer brand that doesn't necessarily have service technicians around here.
Yeah, I understand that, and we'll have to see how that goes. I mean, Tesla finally made it work, and a lot of people, and they, it was the same way for them for years, where some people were having to take it. They would come and pick it up and take it 2 states away to go get it fixed, and then have to bring it back, and you're without a car for a week or two.
Yeah.
But I don't know. We'll just have to see how it all works out.
Yeah, definitely big fan of Fisker, big fan of Lucid as well. So I'm happy to, there's
Yeah,
more competition. I mean, if it wasn't for Tesla to begin with,
yeah,
we
exactly.
wouldn't be where we are now.
Yeah,
So
yeah. And I agree. I mean, I when Tesla first started, that was what I was just like, oh man, this car is awesome. I saw it in one of their little like experience places in a mall, and it had a
yeah,
car sitting in there. You could get in and check it out, and it was just amazing. I was just like, this is really cool. I want to get one of these, and but it was when you saw that price point, it was 150,000. It was like, nope, not anytime
yeah,
soon. That's not happening.
yeah,
Um, so then as we got going, and then all of a sudden it was like, oh, here comes the Model 3, a $35,000 car. It's gonna be the first $35,000 electric car, and then with all the rebates and everything, it's gonna be under 30,000. Well, that lasted a year, and I don't even think I think you even had to like get like some weird like package to get it down to the 35, and it was
yeah. You
hard
had
to
to
get
sacrifice
it.
autopilot, which I like to drive my own car, but autopilot is really good.
Is
So
it?
it's
I've never driven one a Tesla, so I don't really know how the
yeah.
autopilot is.
I like just the standard autopilot. If it does the lane changes too, that's nice. But I don't like the full self driving. Like on city streets,
Right.
I've used it and it's way too inconsistent. I'm spending more time in fear of what is it going to do.
Right.
But on the highway, just like on our 84, you push, to put in the IQ drive and it just stays in the lane very nicely.
Yeah.
And yeah,
Yeah. Yeah. I've never had a problem with the ID4. It does the lane centering and does it great. Um, my wife uses it more often than I do because I like to drive, and the lane keep assist is a little annoying at times. Like,
yeah,
'cause I don't always use my turn signal if I'm gonna like merge into the next lane or I'm gonna merge off of the interstate or something. I don't always turn my turn signal on, and it wants to fight me. And I live out in the country, and it likes to think that it can tell where the road is on the country roads too. And the next thing you'll be driving along, and all of a sudden it'll jerk you over to this side. And it's like, what are you doing?
I know. I have my sister's '06 Honda Civic over here with no safety features, and I'm expecting it to like want to take over the wheel from me at times, and I'm like, this is nice at times.
Yeah, yeah. So now, do you still have your car, or have you already sold it?
It has been sold. I just
It
haven't
has. Okay.
posted anything
I
about it
know
yet.
you had said that you were going to have a video coming up on that, but I wasn't sure if it was like future wise or if it was still already in process.
Yeah, it was just one of those where I got an offer that was too good to refuse, and I
Yeah.
knew I was looking to either get the Lightning or something this summer anyway. So to go a month or so without an EV, when I know it'll be probably better off as the market seems to be cooling off a little bit better right now too for
Right.
affordability.
Yeah. It seems like the cars are starting to make their way in a little better pace now. Um, trying to think what was. Oh, I was going to ask you. So, how long have you been on YouTube now?
So I started my first video was May of last year.
Okay.
And as far as like posting stuff, near as makes a difference weekly or at least a couple videos a month. That
Right.
started in around about a year ago.
Yeah.
Yeah, June, July.
Oh, awesome, awesome. So, you probably, like I did, started when I started watching. I was started watching other people and how they were doing things, and
Yep.
I think both of us probably had somehow came across out of spec, and were
Yep.
just like started watching what Kyle was doing. And although he was kind of when I first started watching, it's like kind of an awkward, kind of dorky, kind of tech guy, and and he's standing there with a notepad and talking. I was like, my wife's like, "What? Well, you can do that. You can get a notepad. You can have it written down and stuff." But that was kind of some of his earlier videos, and now, I mean, but the things that they do is awesome, and the way that they come across, they don't do that whole presentation of the car. They're like, this is what the car is, this is what it can do, this is the power numbers and everything, and then we're gonna go and just drive it.
Yep.
And it's a more fun way, and it's kind of a little bit, I'm kind of a mixture of the two. I try to do a little bit of presenting certain things in the car to show those things a little bit more, but then I do like to do the testing and things like that.
Yeah, I enjoy doing a range test more than I enjoy standing in front of a car rattling off facts. And I'm the same way.
Right.
I either need to have the notebook, or I need to, pause the camera a bunch of times and
Yeah.
pick up the next fact to say. But if you see my road trip videos, you'll see I always have like a 5-second rolling clip of video while the music's playing, like when I'm going in between chargers.
Right.
That's definitely copied right off of Kyle.
I think everybody kind of does that, because if not, then it's pretty boring for people to just sit there and be staring out the windshield, or just going from here to here. Some people like to see some scenic stuff.
Yeah.
So I'd kind of do the same thing with mine. Even when I did did city driving test with the B and D modes and eco and all those different modes that I was testing out. Did the same thing. I'd drive through town and I would just kind of speed up the video a little bit, put a little music going on. And if people want to fast forward through that, they're going to fast forward through it. I don't know how. Don't understand completely with the YouTube analytics, but all I know is it doesn't matter how long my video is or how short my videos are. They always seem to be audience retention is about 50% every time.
Yeah,
if it's 20-minute video, it's like 8 minutes. If it's a 5-minute video, it's 3.5 minutes. It's like it's never full.
Yeah.
So
yeah, the time retention is pretty similar for me. It'll just be the brands. So like a Volvo video will struggle, I think, just because a lot of people don't know about that car that well compared to the ID4 is well known. The Lightning video is, anything Lightning does really well. So it's just, finding the right, finding what people are interested in.
Yep, it is. So what did somebody say? A breakdown of vehicles of Freddie said a breakdown of the vehicles. I'm guessing supposed to be traction motors, layout and connection, along with battery chemistry and type. The start will set your channel apart. Okay. I'm not sure of the battery chemistry. I'm not that smart of a person. Figure that stuff out.
There's definitely another channel that will give those details. I just try to give the simple real world facts and a little bit of entertainment.
Charge here. This is how fast it charges.
And this is what you can do to make the charge time seemingly go by.
Yeah. One of the things for me too is my wife, when she takes Chicago in the ID4, and I'm sure that you've experienced some of the winter driving, how your range. I mean, we can't even drive all the way to Chicago from where we're at without stopping in Bloomington and getting some power and then going on up in the winter. Now during the summer, she can drive up there no problem. And that is some of the weirdest thing, because she had like a 10 mile an hour tailwind, 8 to 10 mile an hour tailwind. And she left. It said 253 miles range, and it basically was a 180 mile trip. I told her, you'll be fine. Drive 74, whatever, all the way up there. Put it in eco. You'll be fine. So if it gets under a 40 mile an hour buffer or 40 mile buffer, slow down to 72 or 70. You'll be fine. I don't know what happened, but she got up there. She said, I've got almost 100 miles left. And I'm like, that was one heck of a tailwind you had that was really pushing you. But, and this is one of the stories that I forget that I'm a YouTuber sometimes. And I left Chicago, and we had been driving around in Glen Ellen the whole weekend and using regen and everything. So we charged up, and of course it said like 278 mile range, whatever. It's like, I'm like, yeah, I know it's not real. But I started driving back home, and I was like, I've got a 180, 190 mile drive back home. I'm like, okay, it's no problem. Didn't pay attention and look ahead of time, but I had a 20-mile-an-hour headwind. And by about 3/4 of the way home, I was behind a semi drafting at 60 miles an hour, trying to get mileage back so
So
that I
I
could
had
make
that
it home.
exact same thing happen. I haven't posted this all yet because this was just back in May, but I was driving down to, well, I was going to Mississippi, but my first charging stop was Bloomington, and with a full charge from here, I was at zero arriving, and that's because I had to do the last few miles because the thunder. When I left, it was decent conditions, but a front
Yeah.
came through, thunderstorms came through, so rain slowed me down, headwind, like just worst case scenario, and fingers were crossed.
Yeah, it is. It's crazy. And I think I rolled in the driveway with 7 miles left. I had gained that much enough back, but I was in the negative at one point
Yeah.
and rolled in. And I sent a picture, took a picture of it, sent it to my wife, and she's like, "How in the world did that happen?"
I,
Um,
I posted a picture of when it said 0 miles. I said the only time I truly feel alive.
yeah. Oh, yeah. And see, that's one of the videos that I had, and it would have been a great video had I been paying attention and remembering that I'm a YouTuber. But right, not too long after we had gotten the car, because we got ours in December, and it was really cold in January. We went and plugged it in, and we were trying to use the scheduled charging,
Yeah.
and I forgot to shut it off of it the next day, so it didn't even it was trying to wait to charge for week instead, so it didn't charge the car at all. And she had like 30, I think it's like 35 miles of range, and she had appointments early that morning, so she went over to the next town, did her thing, and she goes, "It says it's got 15 miles left on it," and I said, "Fine, just bring it over to me at work, and I'll drive it home, so you don't have to worry. You take my truck and just go home, do whatever, go do whatever else you need to do." She gets over there to work, and it says 3% and 6 miles left on it, and it's 11 miles to get home. And I'm like, we got to go now while it's warm, because if it gets cold, there's no way that I'm making it. And so we start driving back, and I was like driving really slow. Time that I could, I'd get some regen in there. And we started driving back, and it went yellow turtle on me, warning me as I was going through town. And we got about a half a mile away from our house, and it went red turtle, and I was going 30 mile an hour and couldn't go any faster, and creeped into the driveway and plugged it in. And I was like, yeah, I'm a YouTuber. I'm paid real good attention there, you know. So I was like, that would have been a great video, but nope. Yeah, and it's I don't know where up where you're at, but like the closest fast chargers for us is Bloomington, Springfield, and Effingham, which is all about 60 miles away from us.
That Effingham Charger is a real nice location. It's at that
Yeah,
big barn restaurant, right?
yeah, Firefly Grill. Yep,
Yeah, yeah.
yep. But to actually do like a range test, none of them are, well, they're kind of close to the interstate, but it's like hard to have turnaround points and things like that, and side roads. Like they have like a perfect little side road that they can drive down and come back whenever till they run it all the way down to zero. Um, so yeah, I don't know. I may try to do some of that later on, but
Yeah, it's like 15, 20 minutes from here to the closest EA charger. Um, but the first time I did a range test, I completely mind blanked of the exits. Exit is only going when you're going westbound, there's an exit, but
mhm.
eastbound, there's not an exit. So I'm getting
Oh,
low on range, thought I timed this pretty well, and then realized that I have to like loop around 5 more miles. And this was shortly after getting the car. So I'm like not okay with range anxiety yet. It hasn't, I've always had a Volt before that. So when it runs
oh.
out, it just turns on the motor. So it was a
Right.
quick learning experience.
Yeah. Um, okay. All right. Well, thank you, Gary Lee. Gary Lee sent in a $5 super chat. Just said Shiba dog bowing respectively. I was like, all right, thank you. Um, so Pedro's got on here. I see you guys talking about cold weather and range here in South Florida. We have no problem with that. And my ID usually gets more than the EPA, especially City Drive. Um,
Question
yeah,
for Pedro: does he open the sunshade in South Florida?
right. Right. Yeah. I mean, our sunshades open almost all the time, but my wife does close it occasionally. She said that most of the time when she does it, it's when the sun is right at the point where it's like right at the angle where it's almost looking at coming shining in at your eyes. Sometimes when you're driving,
Yeah,
then
I've
she'll
noticed that,
shut it.
and I'll shut it whenever I'm down south because it gets quite warm quickly.
Yeah.
But it is
Yeah.
nice to have the sunshade. That's
Mm-hmm.
something that I definitely will look for in every car with a glass roof for sure.
Pedro said sunshade only at night.
Yeah.
Okay. Do you have anything else you want to talk about?
How has your ownership been? Been pretty.
Oh, yeah, it's been good. We haven't had any major issues with it. Occasionally, the infotainment screen, it happened to my wife the other day, and it happened to me one time where it was just blank. And it just
Yep.
like never turned on or anything. And usually, I can just hold the button down and I just keep holding it until it restarts itself and turns back on. But she was having a problem with it and couldn't get it to do that. So I think she actually got out, let the car lock and everything, walked away for a few minutes, and then came back. And I think it was okay after that. Um,
Yeah, that's been the solution for all of any issues I've ever had with the car.
yeah. Um,
I,
and everything else has been great. I haven't had any problems with tires. Like I know a lot of people were having issues with the Bridgestone tires. We have Hankook on ours, and we never had any problems. We didn't have any problem driving in the winter or anything.
I had the Bridgestones. I got a flat when I had like 22,000 miles, so there was only a couple thousand miles left at that point. So I just replaced them with the same ones.
Okay.
Um, I've had the infotainment issue where one time or a couple times I've been able to just hold the button and it resets. There's one time in particular though that it would not, and I did the same thing, parked it, walked away.
Yeah.
I've had the have you ever had it where your IQ drive has an error pop up that it well, obviously in the winter it'll get snow on it,
Yeah.
but sometimes in warm weather I've had it where it just I think the sensor gets cooked a little bit, but does the
Yeah.
same thing, just walk away. And then I one time had the electrical drive unit failure warning, but
I
that ended up
saw
being
that.
nothing as well. Just the
Okay.
same
I
thing.
knew,
Walked away and it came back fine.
I knew
So
that had happened to you in a video, and the funny thing was is I did a video shortly after that about the battery recall. And I was like, well, I just watched John JK where he had a issue. I said, I don't know if it's the same thing or not, but um, and I think somebody else had said that yours ended up being fine. There wasn't any major issue. I
yeah,
did. I
thankfully
was.
it was a great car. No
Yeah.
complaints against it. It's definitely strongly recommended to anyone that is considering it for
Hmm.
sure.
I did have one time, and this was the first. I've never had this happen before, and it just happened to be. I went up to Chicago and picked up my dad for Father's Day weekend, and I didn't want him driving all the way down here at the gas prices and everything. I was like, I'll just come up, pick you up, I'll charge up while I'm up there, and we'll come back home down here. Pick him up. He's kind of excited about everything in the electric car, and he's just like, "Well, this is kind of crazy." Um, but I go pull in, and I'm at the Woolridge site, and I pull in, and I hooked up, and it says could not charge, and I unplugged it, and inside the car it said electrical something issue, and it was just sitting there, and the car wouldn't do anything. I couldn't turn it on, I couldn't put it in gear, couldn't do anything. And I sat there messing with it, trying to get everything off of there, and then eventually it reset itself, and it was fine. And then I charged, and everything was fine. But there for a few minutes, I was like, okay, my dad's not in the car seeing what's going on, so I just told him we need to move over to this other charger. This one's not working right. Kind of just ignored the whole thing and just kind of let him not know what was going on. But that was kind of strange and kind of threw me off for a little bit. But that's really it. I mean, our tires have still been good. We're getting ready to go in for our 20,000 mile checkup, and when we did our 10,000, I think we're actually at about 12 when we did it, and we still had 8 30 seconds in the rear and 9 in the front. So I think we're probably going to still be all right. They look fine.
Yep. My dealer did cover the cost of the second one, so hopefully you get that covered when you're there, because I think they technically say 2 years to 20,000 mile services. So
yeah. Thomas, no upgraded ID4 software yet. And then Pedro, nope. Joe's already sold his ID4, and we'll be trading ours when we get our Fisker Ocean. So that answers both of those.
any word how that process is supposed to work? Is Fisker handling it that the same way as Tesla, kind of just
Yeah,
taking some sort of book value on it?
right. Yeah, they're. I can't remember. Sean from Fiskerati. He was talking. There's a company that's involved with that. It was Cox. I'm not sure if I think that's what he was. I think that's who it was. But anyway, it's going to be the same thing as like doing like Carvana. You'll submit what it is. If there's no issues with it, probably send some pictures in. When they come and pick it up, they'll probably drive it just to make sure there's nothing wrong with it, and away you go. So hopefully, I think with the being electric, that the value will hold. Especially through next year. Now, moving on a couple of years down the road, if things kind of balance out, I think we'll start seeing EVs depreciate just as much as gas vehicles at some point. Later on, I think the gas vehicles will start bottoming out.
My
Because
big sales pitch I've given to people is, they usually in EVs say whatever $5,000-7,000 more expensive than the comparable size gas vehicle. Well, and you should get that 5,000 to 7,000 in gas savings. Well, I think you're still money ahead on the EV in that point, because if you finance and pay that 5,000 to 7,000 on the vehicle, you should have retained some of that equity. Whereas if you spend 5,000 to 7,000 on
right,
gas, that's gone.
yeah, exactly, yeah. I think that's about it. That's all that I've got. Yeah, I think that's it. Well, I appreciate you coming on, Joe.
That was a good time.
Yeah, I'm glad you came on, and I know there's. Like I said, I'm planning on maybe doing this on a weekly thing and kind of having some different people come on. It'll probably be Sunday nights, because on Wednesday nights I think we're going to plan to do this with on the Fisker Ocean tonight. Sean was just on vacation. And he's just like, well, I can probably do it if you want. I was like, no, you're on vacation with your family. Just enjoy your time with your family. There's no reason to worry about doing a live broadcast. So,
Yeah, I'm going to be out of town the next couple of weeks, but it will definitely. I'll have all my gear with me, so we can definitely touch base if there's time. I'll certainly jump back on.
all right, it sounds great. So I just real quick, I guess Jerry Lee says, "Hey Joe, do you know who is building the Ocean and servicing it?" I think we kind of just touched on. We're not real sure exactly with the servicing of it, but I didn't know how familiar you were with who's actually building the Ocean. If you've looked at that,
Yeah, I'm not familiar. Is it Magna? Someone else just commented.
yeah, it is Magna. And that was one of the big selling points to me, because I started hearing Kyle start talking about Magna, and then they started showing stuff about Magna, and then I was just like, then I found out what kind of cars that Magna produces, and I was like, yeah, I'm going to trust that this car is going to be built right. So,
Yeah.
yeah.
Yeah, that's a beautiful guy. I've looked at it before. I definitely would not be opposed to owning one.
Yeah.
It's just seeing we'll have to see how the timeline works out, and if it works out, I'll definitely look into it.
Yeah.
My big car I'm holding out for is that ID Buzz in a couple of years.
Yeah, which I think the guy from Battery Life, he has actually got an invite to go out there and I don't know where, Copenhagen, I think is where he said, to actually go drive that. Um, so we'll see what kind of video he has from that. But I think he's funny. I don't know if you watch him very much, but he's pretty funny about Volkswagen's just about the only ones that give him any cars
Yeah.
because he's made a
Yeah.
comment. He's like, they won't give me a car. They won't give me any more cars. And,
That's like, I
but
think the straight pipes, Jacob and Yuri. I don't think they get Volkswagens anymore after they said bad
who,
things about a couple in a row.
oh, yeah. And then I watched those, the Now You Know channel about Teslas, the two guys that talk about Teslas all the time.
Yeah.
They did the same thing. They actually got a Volkswagen ID4, and that was the only car that any manufacturer ever gave them because all they did was compare everything to the Tesla and tell them how bad that stuff in the ID4 was compared to Tesla's, and nobody will ever give them a car now.
Well, for 20 grand more, I'd hope the Tesla's a better car. That's the way I look at it.
Yeah, and it's just like, okay, so yeah, your software is better, and it should be.
Yeah.
You've been doing it for 10 years, but I'm sitting there going, okay, you guys want to compare it, then compare the ride quality. And of course, in there, they're just like, oh yeah, they still said the Tesla was a better ride and better quality and all this stuff. And it's like, I know I've heard over and over again from people who own Teslas that the ride is horrible. It is not. I mean, Kyle's even said it himself. He would prefer to drive the ID4 over his Tesla, other than the fact that the Tesla charges easier and faster. But as in road tripping, he said he'd take ID4 every time for comfort. So,
Yep.
yeah, those guys are anytime. They're so one-sided. It's, so. But I still
That's
watch
the
them.
future of YouTube. Is they'll be like CNBC. You have to put your investment disclaimers at the beginning of your video.
Right. I know sometimes I get a little worried because people ask about with Fisker. They're like, are you an investor? And all. I was like, well, yeah, I'm buying stock in it because I'm not missing out on the Tesla thing again.
Yeah.
I mean, if this turns out as good, I was like, I mean, it'd be great if these shares end up being $800 a share.
After a split. Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
Okay, so I think we're going to head out, and thank you everybody for coming. And I will I don't know if I'll start it this Sunday, but if not this Sunday, then I'll start doing this weekly after that, and probably maybe we'll see Joe on again sometime. And but I'm going to try to get different guests to be involved, and if not, you'll just have just me, and we'll just talk about whatever. So everybody, thank you for coming. Thank you, Joe, for coming on here. I did. Hopefully, maybe you had some people from your side. Were you able to tie in or not?
I don't think it's streamed on my YouTube. I was able
Okay.
to. I set up an account, but it was kind of being a little fidgety, so I was just anxious to
Okay.
get in the video.
Okay.
One way or another.
Okay.
But hopefully, we can work out those kinks before the next time.
Yeah, that would be awesome. All right. I'll see
care.
everybody later.